Welcome to Devon and Cornwall Microsoft Power BI User Group. Today's session is all about how to study and learn Power BI and how to pass those exams. Our presenter today is Katrina. Katrina has just so phenomenally organised with the resources and a huge passion to be able to learn and to share and to facilitate growth. So really looking forward to a session. We have further sessions coming up from covering from ChatGPT and Excel and Power BI from Win, Ben Ferry showing us how the new slicer can be used and the new cards. We've got some more Power Automate with Christian, and then we have Chris Webb after Christmas and Paul Lucason talking about geospatial analysis. Laura GB doing what Laura GB does best, which is just such an energetic, brilliant presentation. Then we have Christian showing us all about error catching, and hopefully our new our new M functions might be out. And then I think I know who I've got coming on the 10th. I've got a couple more lined up my sleeve, which will be Christmas presents for you. So without any hesitation, let me hand over to Katrina, who will take us through how to use and study for Power BI exams. So I will leave it all over to Katrina. And hopefully
Hello, everyone.
To see.
Thanks so mujust for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, Sue. Glad to be here.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So I just wanted to talk to you about studying Power BI effectively and how to pass your PL300. So I got a study plan for you. So why did I create this presentation? This is my second career. I went back to grad school at 42. I am an accidental techie. When I started my program, I actually was going to be a librarian. And after one semester, I realized that was not a good fit for me. And so I decided to do their data analytics track, which I secretly wanted to do anyway. I was kind of always wanted to get into tech. And it was the best decision I've ever made. When I went into that, however, I had no tech experience whatsoever. I was literally starting from zero. So those of you who are here who are starting from zero or very little, I can relate. And when I started with Power BI, I was at a new role in a consulting firm, and they allowed me to pick my own training. And I picked one, but the only thing that they went through during that training was reporting basics and DAX basics. So I didn't realize how many gaps I had. The good thing was, for that first consulting role, that was all I needed. I was with the same client the entire time. So that worked out well. But by the time I got to my current company, 3Cloud, it was a problem because I had a lot of gaps. And thankfully, I had some bench time that I could use to start studying up. And being the research geek that I am, that came in handy. I love research. I love to find resources. I love to put learning plans together. It's just something that I get a lot of pleasure from. So that is why I wanted to do this, to share my love of resources with others. So who did I design this presentation for? So for people who are new, people who just want to dig deeper into Power BI or just get to know Power BI, and for dabblers, which could be, those are people like me, where you've been working with it for a bit, either on the job or on your own, and you want to dive deeper into it. So what we're going to review, we're going to take a look at a bunch of key study topics, and then we're going to take a look at that study plan for the PL300. And as Sue mentioned, there's going to be a list of resources for all the topics, as well as the PL300 study guide, and you'll have access to that. And we'll take a look at it a little bit at the end. Okay, so let's take a look at these study topics. So where do we access Power BI? We've got a few places. We've got the Power BI desktop software. We've got Power BI cloud service. We've got Power BI mobile, so you can access it on mobile, various types of mobile devices. And then you can embed it. So you can embed it in apps and web pages, PowerPoint, etc. So this is your basic, this is the Power BI desktop itself. This is the canvas that you use when you create reports. There are a lot of different parts here, but it's a great environment and you have a lot of tools. And this is for building locally on your own machine. So this is the homepage of the Power BI service. So this is where you're going to publish those desktop reports. You can develop reports in the Power BI service, but the desktop actually currently has the most functionality. Microsoft is working on making these very, well, identical. At some point, we'll be able to develop completely in the Power BI service. So Power BI Mobile is basically pocket access to Power BI. You can do the tailoring of the reports in particular for mobile viewing in both the desktop and the service. And this is just an example of embedding. So this is just a PowerPoint report embedded in a Power BI report embedded in a PowerPoint slide. So of course you're going to want to download the software, and you can download it for free, the Power BI desktop. But one thing that I learned relatively recently, surprisingly, was that you actually have two options for downloading. You have the Microsoft Store, which is actually ideal because Power BI is updated monthly, and the updates in this case are automatic. What I did was the manual way. And so and because of that, I have to actually manually go in and update the Power BI reports. Not a big deal, but it's nice to have something automated for you. Next, you just want to be aware of licensing. There are a few licensing options. You've got the free version, and that's what you're going to start with. You've got the pro and you've got the premium per user. And so, so you've got a bunch of different rates here that you'll incur if you decide to choose those options. Each one gives you more features, obviously, as you go. But the nice thing is when you have that free account, you get a 60-day free pro trial. And at some point, if you're going to continue past that 60 days, you're going to need to get the license, because this is the only way you can actually publish to the desktop. You can't publish up to the Power BI service. You can't publish it just using the free account. Just something to be aware of. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get to know that software. So you want to familiarize yourself with it. You want to dig into that interface. You want to click all over and work to understand all the different pieces and what they do. You're going to find that you will see options available in multiple places. And over time, you're going to find that you have a preferred place that you like to grab that is your go-to. So that's just something to be mindful of. The help ribbon is extremely useful, very valuable. This is one not to take for granted, because you have access to Microsoft Learn itself. You have access to the Power BI documentation, the blog, the community where you can submit questions. And then under examples, you have the ability to grab report and data samples. And that might be something useful to you as you're building your first reports. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to import and transform that data. There are many, many connectors in Power BI, so you can connect to all different types of data sources. You can use sample data sets in Power BI, the ones I just mentioned and examples. And the data sets online, it's going to be quite overwhelming. I did give you some links to these, but one of the links I gave you, that particular website has over 100,000 data sets. So there are a lot of free data sets out there that you can pick and choose from to your heart's delight. And then the other option is, of course, you can use your own data. So the next thing we want to look at is you want to clean up and transform that data. And you're going to do that using the Power Query environment, which you access through the Power BI desktop. This environment is specifically for that cleaning and shaping. And then you're going to use and then sometimes you may need or just to be aware of the M language. You may not need this at the beginning, but it's something to be aware of at some point. This will allow you a lot more flexibility in doing transformations, since this is the data transformation language that is used in Power Query. And that red box is just showing an example of what that code looks like. So semantic modeling is a new term, or at least new to Microsoft. It used to be called data modeling. Be aware of that, especially when you're doing your Google searches. Semantic modeling isn't going to be all over the place now, since Microsoft just changed it. And so I would say use data modeling in your searches, just to be aware of. Just be aware of that fact. And then we're going to add some data. We're going to look at DAX as well. So dimensional modeling is the concept behind that data modeling. So it involves breaking your data up into dimension tables and into fact tables. And then you connect those by relationships and into what's a type of format that's called a star schema. And this is the ideal type of modeling to use in Power BI. DAX is the formula language that we use to create calculations in the report visuals, among other things. It can be used for other things as well. So there are a couple different approaches. There's the calculate approach, and there's the no calculate approach. So I would say, dabble, learn a bit about each approach, and decide which is better for you. Calculate is more documented on the web. No calculate is relatively new. And if you missed it, listen to the recording of Greg Deckler's DAX for Humans talk that was presented here just a couple weeks ago. It's very good. So I highly recommend it. And then a tip, this is important. The data modeling is crucial, because that's what allows you to write simpler DAX and allows for better performance of that DAX. Okay, so let's take a look at reporting. So you're going to start with requirements. Maybe you have somebody who can give you some requirements, and you can do a project for them. You could create your own requirements. But the important thing is that you have some, so you have a starting point to guide you in building that report. Report design. This is something else you want to be aware of. Some things as simple as, in this example here, lining things up. You would be amazed at how people do not do that. Just simple things that make it just look a lot cleaner. So be aware of what types of design, what best practices in report design are out there, and then apply those best practices. And then visuals. You want to know how and when to use different types of visuals. And then you want to get into the report building itself, using those, and you want to be referencing those requirements. You want to put all those pieces together. You want to put the report design together along with those visuals in your DAX, and then you build that report. And then a piece that we need to think about, especially if you're working directly with a client, is how do I tell a story about the data that's presented in this report? You want to give them some insights. You want to provide that to a client by giving them an engaging story. So after that, once a report's built, we want to publish it and we want to share it. We do that by publishing the report to a workspace in the Power BI service. Then we use the publish button on the desktop to publish those reports up. Once that data is up there, we want our data to be current. We want to make sure that it stays current. And so we schedule regular data refreshes. So that's something you need to set up manually. And then lastly, you want to make sure you give permissions to those people or groups that need access to this data, access to this report. And another tip is my workspace is a sandbox that's given to you when it's just an automatic sandbox that's provided to you when you're in the service, but you want to avoid using that when you're sharing and create a separate workspace for clients. Next thing you need to do is stay up to date. Power BI is huge. It's a huge ecosystem. It's continuously evolving. Updates are made to it every month. And you want to review those new features every month. So you can do that by going out to the Power BI blog. You can go to the Power BI YouTube channel, and where they will provide detailed breakdowns of all the new features, so you can get familiar with what's new. And try public preview features in desktop. A couple that I would recommend off the bat would be Copilot, which is an AI feature, and on object editing. These are going to give you head start on just these new topics before they go into general availability. Okay, so that's an overview of those, the main topics. And now I want to take a look at the certification. So this is for the Microsoft Power BI Data Analyst certification. And so here are some recommendations that I have that worked really well for me. So what is this PL300? It is a professional certification. Looks really great on your resume, looks really great on your LinkedIn. This is something that you want to get the word out about when you get it. This is intended for business or data analyst roles. So those folks who want to be Power BI data analysts. It needs to be renewed annually, but the renewals are much easier. You only have to do a free assessment on Microsoft Learn. I think it's 30 questions, but it's very doable. And by that point, a year later, you'll just have that much more experience and it'll be much more comfortable to you and the questions will be familiar. This is a new thing. It's technically, well, it's not, it is open book now, but I don't think it's a good thing, and for a couple different reasons. It eats into your test time because they don't stop the clock for this, and it can distract you from both preparing well and working to actually understand the material. So I would recommend not relying on that. Plus, it's going to just be distracting as you leave the tool and go off and look for more information or leave the test. My favorite thing is the Microsoft Learn learning paths. And there are a number of them, and they have many, many pieces within them. They will not take just 3 hours. they will take a lot more than 3 hours. 3 hours is if you basically just read through the text in the various learning paths. I really love these trainings. I actually found them very enjoyable. They have lots of hands-on pieces in them as well, and you can then supplement once you finish this. But I would definitely recommend doing the full course for this. Another way you can just prepare is by building personal projects. This is going to be something that's great for people who are new, especially if those with no very little or no report building experience. And you need to be actively using Power BI if you're going to take a test on it. So you need to be familiar with that environment. You need to know how things work. So yes, treat these as though you're working for a client. So what does that mean? Yes, get those requirements. So build some requirements. Find somebody in this user group that may have somebody that may have some data that they'd like some work on. Get that data from online, somebody in this group, or your own data, as we talked about earlier. Get everything connected up to that, make sure the Power BI is connected up to that data. Make sure you're using Power Query to clean and prepare that data. Create that data model, create that semantic model, include those dimensions in those fact tables, try and get that star schema going. When you build your report, make sure you use DAX, and not just simple DAX functions, but try and get a little more complex. Use a variety of visuals as long as they mesh with the requirements, and just include any other options that you can, bells and whistles that make sense. Things like buttons, page navigation, tooltips. And then even better, just get feedback from user group members. So right here, or go into the Power BI forum and create a post and ask if people will take a look at your report. And then do some data storytelling. So somebody start talking through what this data looks like, what it's trying to convey, what interesting outliers popped up. All these things, these personal projects, I provided some information on creating a portfolio, because having these projects will prepare you when you go into interviews. You can actually talk to work you've actually done, and you can talk through your process for building those reports and showcase all the different pieces that you brought into play. Another thing to add into the mix is practice tests. Microsoft now offers the practice test for free. And then I recommend Udemy for getting test questions, because people will put together packets of sample test questions that can be really helpful. It just helps reinforce what you're learning in the Microsoft practice test. Oh, and keep in mind with the practice test, the Microsoft test, you can take that multiple times. It will just keep mixing up the questions each time you take it. So you'll be presented with some different questions each time. But that's a nice thing. And just do that multiple times. It's going to be very helpful, because you need to be familiar with all different types of questions. They use multiple choice, case studies, which take a while to read through and get just before you can even answer the questions, and then things like fill in the blank and other types of questions. When you go to Udemy, they have sales all the time, and maybe they'll have a few days where they don't have a sale. They're basically year round. So do not pay full price. These are worth the small investment, and I would say never pay more than $20. So and that's reasonable. You should be able to find some good things for under 20. And then look for the highest ratings, but not only the highest ratings, look for those with a large number of ratings. Obviously, we're talking sample set. You have a small sample set, it's not going to be very helpful. You've got a couple fans and you're not seeing the people that may have been frustrated with this or that. Another thing that I look for, and this is something I even do on Amazon, is just look at some negative comments, because you want to see if there are any red flags that pop up, or confirm if the questions are actually, if the students think the questions are actually similar to the Microsoft practice test, things like that. But it's been very helpful to me, and it has turned me off to certain groups of tests. Some additional information to keep in mind. The Microsoft Study Guide. This is your guide. This is something you need to pay absolute attention to. It contains, and then the document that this is within, there's a page that I'm going to send you that includes the study guide, but I'm also giving you a direct link to the study guide. All of that is just going to be super helpful to you. Pay attention, read those documents, and just understand everything that's in those documents, because they give you very clear guidance on all the topics you need to know and how much of the test they're going to take up, etc. Then you're going to want to schedule that test. And if you need to reschedule, just make sure you do it more than 24 hours before, or you will be charged for that test. And it's not free. It's not inexpensive. It's a bit of an investment, but very worth it. You're going to want to log in 30 to 45 minutes ahead and follow the instructions exactly. This is really going to help you, because you just want to make sure there are no bugs, no issues with your system, no issues with your computer, with your internet. It's just going to be very, very helpful. And another thing that I wasn't aware of was that Proctor, I mean, I knew technically it could happen, but then it was strange when it actually happened to me. And there are exam proctors that are standing by. And so they can randomly go to students and say, okay, they'll contact you either through the computer or on your phone. And they'll say, hey, I need pictures of the back of your computer. I need pictures of your desk. I need this or I need that. Give them everything that they ask for, and know that this is normal. This is very common. Okay, so let's take a look at what we learned. So we learned that Power BI is more than just report building. It's part of a really big ecosystem. I didn't even give you all the pieces. If you want to get into any more of the advanced pieces, there are a lot of things that are additional, such as security, like row level security, data management, and things like that. So there are plenty of other topics. And now with the introduction of Fabric, the data engineering piece, that's another big one to be mindful of. So we took a look at the key topics to learn. So somebody who's new or newer to Power BI. And then we took a look at a possible study plan for the PL300 certification. Now I have a few final thoughts to leave you with. Just be patient on your journey. This is your own journey. Understanding these topics will likely take longer than you think. This is something surprisingly I'm still learning. Don't compare yourself to others. A friend told me recently, she said, I compete against myself. And I think that was great advice. And you're going to know more than other people. Other people are always going to know more than you. That's just the way it is. Create structured, reserved, focus time to do your study. And this will be reinforced in the learning how to learn documents that I attached in the resources. It'll make a lot of sense to you. And I say this because if you're a neurodiverse person, this is especially important. So select the resources that resonate with you. I'm giving you a lot of resources. It may feel a little overwhelming, but you don't have to use every one. You can sample one, see if that's a resource that resonates with you. If it doesn't, you move on and try another one. I definitely have my people that I go to that I prefer. Their teaching styles and some of the YouTube videos, they make more sense to me. They're clearer, that kind of thing. Just keep that in mind. And then organize those resources. So the thing that I do to organize my resources, and I think I may need to add an image of this just in my resources, but it's pretty straightforward. When you're on your bookmarks bar, when you're bookmarking all these resources, make sure you create folders. So I create folders I have my Power BI folder. Then I have within there, I have my subfolders. I have my subfolder for DAX. I have my subfolder for M. I have my subfolder for Power Query, data visualizations, data storytelling, you name it. All the pieces that go into Power BI, I have them organized. And then you can organize them even further. But it's going to drive you crazy if you just have them just generally bookmarked and then have to go through a long list of bookmarks to try and find the one that you want. But I definitely recommend use folders. Or if you have another thing that, type of organization tool that you've been using or that works for you, use that. The point is organize them so you have easy access to them. And thank you. Thank you for having me. This has just been such a pleasure.
Thank you,
And
Katrina.
here's how you can reach me. What's that?
I said thank you. That was really, really organised, very thorough, methodical. Lots of chatting going on in the chat, and cheers for you. You wouldn't guess that it's something you haven't done for a little while. It was, I think everyone can agree, it was, highly professional, informative.
Thank you to everyone. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, so a few people, the link is just above Hasham. I've put the link there just above there for you, so you can, they're asking how they can access your resources. So Katrina is going to share her Word document, and we thought we'd just chat through it for 10 minutes or so and show you some of the information she's collated and have a quick chat about it. And then I'll pop it into the GitHub so you can have it, you can all access it. I haven't used Stream Deck, Paul. Paul's saying he uses Stream Deck to take him to content he wants to see. I use Obsidian. I find Obsidian quite helpful for note taking. I'll pop a link into that. And there's a link above as well I popped in, which it might have been lost. There's a group that Brian Julius is highlighted, which basically gives feedback on any dashboards or reports that you build. They will give you feedback on that. But I'll hand over to you.
Oh, that's lovely. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just want to share, I love to share resources. This is something I hoard resources. It's just something that I really enjoy. So I always have whatever I want at my fingertips and can go to this or that. So so these are my resources that I'm providing. So I'm going by topic so you can kind of relate them, back to the slides. I just give an overview. This is just the Microsoft documentation on Power BI itself. Where to access it, where to download it, all the good stuff here, getting to know it, transforming your data. So a little bit about all the different topics there.
Oh, go back up. So we were talking about sample data sources. So this is really, I find personally, if you are building a report on something you're interested in, it really helps if it's something that if it's a topic you're interested in. And that data.world, there's some fabulous tutorials in there. Different data sets that are great. And Hisham has
thanks,
put in.
Hicham. Yeah. Some of those .gov sites are amazing too. There's a lot in there. One that I really like to work with too is is international trade data. It's just kind of fascinating to me. So you can go directly to some of these agencies and grab data there as well. So that's another thing to think about if you don't see something, but I would be surprised if you didn't.
Yeah.
So and then the Google one's great because it just allows you to search by whatever topic just at a glance. It's just handy.
Someone did one on Pokemon. They like Pokemon? So they did a whole thing on Pokemon characters and different. Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. And then some stuff on M.
Oh yeah, BI Gorilla. He's brilliant, Rick.
Yeah, that is an amazing site.
That's all. That whole site is built using Power Query. And he's just posted up. There's some new functions being, that he's found that they haven't got descriptions for yet.
I did not know that. No, that's fabulous. So, some dimensional modeling, DAX itself, and I give you some, no calculate versus the calculate requirements. These are some great resources, just really thorough on requirements, both business and report.
Yeah, it is. It is that, knowing the questions, isn't it? Different reports for different questions, depending who's asking for it and what they want to see. It's brilliant.
Indeed. And then a couple of articles on design, taking a look at different report building itself, which is usually where the report building is going to be embedded into the bigger, the more overviews of Power BI in general, but there's some good ones. There's some great ones out there. And then some articles on data storytelling, and then publishing, just all the different types of resources on publishing and staying up to date. There's the blog. And here is the basically chain of items you need to get to, clicks you need to make to get to the preview features, so you can start investigating the preview features. And then there's that information Microsoft Learn. Found some really cool stuff on portfolios and a place you can actually publish Power BI portfolios. It is specifically for data people.
Yeah, I've heard people use NoviPro before.
Yeah, and that was a new one to me.
Power BI portfolio. I think, who's that? I think it might have been Brian talking. I know someone's talked about NoviPro.
I've tried to use they've done something with NoviPro to make it a little bit harder. I was looking at it. Yeah, there was something that they've done to it now. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they've made it slightly harder for you to publish reports there for free. But I've looked into it for a while now.
Oh, cool. Good to know. Thank you for that. So,
and also
might be worth the investment,
and it's also NoviPro actually gives them. It's quite nice for inspiration as well, because there's so many reports published on there. It gives some nice inspiration if you're looking for ideas or things that people have done or different variations and things. So that's also quite nice as well.
Yeah, that is when you see people. I think you've got them up in a moment. A couple of the Workout Wednesday, Katrina.
Yes, and there's the practice test. I also threw in some I threw in some technical glossaries. These are just really handy when you want to look up a term that you don't know, and you're going to come across acronyms and terms that you don't know, depending on how new you are to Power BI. Oh, I'm still, who are we kidding? I'm still looking up acronyms.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have to remember now semantic model instead of data model or the data set. So it's always changing.
Yeah, so that I thought would be helpful. And then these are a lot of the leaders in basically in the Power BI world. So these are a lot of wonderful people who do really great videos. And then I recommend their websites as well, which are all in the, within their YouTube channels, but they have fabulous.
I think I would reiterate what you say. It's about finding someone that talks to you, that talks to your brain and your style of learning. Yeah, Ruth at Kerbal is just awesome. And she's got a whole section on every single function in DAX and what it means and how to use it. They're all brilliant.
It's just amazing how some of these enterprise DNAs is really cool right now, because he's huge on AI. Yeah. And so he's publishing lots of stuff on ChatGPTs, and they even created a lookup so that you can look up all the GPTs that have been created so far across the web, and they're already over 600. Yeah. So I should probably include that as well, but it's very cool. And then some exercises. These are some exercises, and one of them is that Workout Wednesday.
I love Workout Wednesday because it gives you the data set, and it just takes you through specific visual challenges, and then you can see, like Anthony said, you can see how other people would design it, and it's just lovely little tips. You think, oh, I didn't think of doing that, so that's great. But I haven't seen the Wise Owl, I don't think so. That's a new one to me. Yeah, this
was something I came across. It's very rare to find exercises, and so this has both DAX and Power BI. And yes, Paul, Sam McKay has gone wild on AI.
Gone mad.
That is so funny. Yes, he's sending me stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Roommate, I will put it in the GitHub. I'll put it in the GitHub so that you can access it in GitHub, and I'll just I'll put the link to it.
And then this is a biggie that I really wanted to share with you is it's basically learning how to learn. And this woman, Barbara, she's professor. She's just, I love her. We all love her. She's super nerdy, but she's a brilliant teacher, and she's just amazing. And these courses are free. All of them. And I've taken the first two myself and learned so much and changed my learning habits. Like, one thing is incorporating Pomodoros, because our brains can. Oh, okay. So a Pomodoro is basically you're setting a time limit for yourself, because your brain really doesn't want to go for too long periods of time without a break. You need breaks. So you have your focus time for 25 minutes, and then you take a break for 5 minutes. And then you do like 3 of those. And then on the 4th one, you get like a longer break, like 15 minutes. But you can tailor accordingly. And people do. And sometimes I do. But I use it all the time. I use it basically every day. I have little apps that keep me accountable with those Pomodoros. But it's a great method to keep you focused during a certain period.
I've never heard of that. And so which one's that in her learning how to learn?
It's part of her learning how to learn. It's one of the techniques that she provides. So, but she's talking. She and there's some other people she talks with.
Oliver said he thought it was a tomato.
Well, because and Oliver, you're correct, because it was an Italian. I can't remember who it was, but it was Italian who created it, and you used a tomato-shaped timer as your physical timer for the Pomodoro. So you are correct. That is
we learn.
Yes, that is where it originated. But these are just absolutely fabulous. I can't talk about them enough. And the books are equally amazing. And the third talk is new to me, so I'm like really excited to do that one myself and read the book, because I always learn just amazing things from her.
And then it's free.
And it's free. They're all free, all 3. And then the Power BI documentation, of course, and then ChatGPT for Power BI development, because that could never thought you'd hear about tomatoes. Yeah, that's true.
And Italian ones. There's a little bit of DAX going on there.
And Italian. And then Fabric, this awesome new environment that finally is in general availability. So you definitely want to be aware and track stuff that's going on with Fabric, because at some point, as when you're in your Power BI journey, you're going to interact with it. You can't help it. So I hope those will be helpful to you.
Yes, definitely. And there's lots of requests for your learning materials. So Katrina will give me a copy of the presentation and the Word document, and we will pop it into the GitHub site so that you can access it. Every presentation that we've had, I've put in there together with anything that you should be able to access. So the whole point is to share. So we've got 10 minutes. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Katrina. Really enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
If anyone wants to unmute and ask some questions specifically, then now is your chance to do so. But that was really good. Oliver said he did the PBI exam. Yeah, I just keep renewing it. I think it was was it the DA100, and then it was the
Yes, it was the DA100.
Yeah, it's had various names. And I think once you've done it, then they just tell you, they just keep telling you to renew it. But I think my first one was the EDX one or something, and then it was, I don't know, I lose touch. So many, but it is good, I think, to be certified, because it makes you learn the whole infrastructure, and it gives you confidence, and also gives other people confidence, and it gives you a nice structure. That was really good. Thank you, Katrina.
Yeah, my pleasure. And everyone, I love to connect on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me. And I have many, many more resources. So
do you want to put your presentation up again, your last one?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, do they change it, Anthony, every couple of months?
Yeah, if you look at I've been keeping track of the schedule quite often, and you just download it. And obviously there's new stuff that comes along. So like paginated reports wasn't in it for quite a while, and then that came in, and then new stuff comes along, and then they deprecate certain stuff, like certainly when they were can't remember what it was, but yeah, it changes every few months. They literally will update the exam every few months.
Yeah. I mean, it was seeing what Alan was showing us last week, where you can pull a table into Excel from Power BI. I know you could pull in a data set, or you could, exam 778, or you can pull in a data flow. And now just to pull in that table, it's from a semantic model. Oh, hello, Henrique. It's it's incredible. Henrique did the test on Saturday. Was it right, Henrique? You sat the exam Saturday? So I'm going to stop recording now so we can chit chat away, but not from an on-prem. Oh dear. Is that what it was? So Henrique and I have hours, and this is what I would also suggest: study buddies. So Henrique and I have an hour every week where we catch up on what we're working on, and I work as a consultant, and Henrique has his own business, but also works for a university. And so our experiences are different, but the software we use and the questions we ask are very similar. And we couldn't work out today why he couldn't insert one table from one Power BI service, but not another one. That was why then. Live connected is not the same as live connection. Of course. Yes. So, but if you have a study buddy and you belong to the community, then and Anthony and I belong to another study group, and we're forever just discussing and sharing information about how to help each other. And those two meetings that I have weekly, and I have one more with another lady, Laura GB. She sort of acts as a mentor towards me. So if you can have a mentor and you can have connections with other people, then it really helps with your own professional development. And I've learned so much from the regular sessions that I have with Anthony and Henrique and Laura. And there are other three buddies, aren't they, Anthony, who aren't here today?
Yeah, they're not on.
Yeah, but to be able to share and discuss information is really useful. Any questions from anyone? No. Oh, let me start record.
Thank you for watching, and see you next week where we get to talk to Win about ChatGPT with Excel and Power BI. Take care. Bye.